part of the Career Exploration Workshop. Is that true for everyone? Yes? Yes? Excellent, excellent. This was a new session we added last year that really was very insightful for a lot of our students and our families as you think about your next steps in your life. One of the things that's really essential as we develop a program here for students and for families as you think about your future is this intentional pathway. We try to give so many opportunities for our students to grow and to develop, and one of the things that we've found is really that community of our alumni and friends of the school are that next level of connection with our community that really helps students as they think about what their future might be. Yes, perhaps college, universities, or service may be just beyond getting your diploma, but then there are all of those next steps. So this session is designed in a way so that you can hear from some of the top areas of your interest. We surveyed the students about their career pathways that they are thinking about now for their future, and then worked together with the Alumni and Development Office and Ken Hollingsworth to tap on some alumni and friends of the school to partner with us to do a little storytelling today and give some advice to students and families. So at this point, what I'm going to do is actually turn it over to Ken Hollingsworth, who will be introducing our alumni today. Thank you.
Excuse my voice here, I've lost it somewhere along the lines, but it's so great to have you folks here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for having your children here and being a part of our school. These four alumni are absolutely thrilled to be here. We have four great ones that are excited to tell you a little bit about their story, and at the end there's going to be opportunities for questions, etc. So let me tell you a little bit about each one. Our first speaker is John Pandisio, the class of 1983. And I know them all really well, but I've got these notes just to make sure I remember, say all the right things. John was 2 years at Tilton, played hockey, lacrosse, and soccer, did a lot of outdoor hiking. Actually went on a 2-week trip to Europe with me when students used to do things like that. Attended UMass and is the head of marketing and advertising at Five Wits Entertainment. Ellen Alden, class of 85, was a 4-year student at Tilton, played soccer, basketball, and lacrosse here, was also the freshman class president, and worked on the yearbook, and also wrote for the school newspaper. She got her BA at St. Michael's, teaching certificate at Pepperdine, and a Master of Education from Merrimack College. She was an elementary school teacher that just decided to write a book, and now she is a very well-known author. Number 3 is Joe Costanzo, class of 03. Joe was a postgraduate here at Tilton, played football, wrestling, and baseball. He got his bachelor's at Moravian College in Pennsylvania in criminal justice and sociology. He's worked at the Merrimack County Department of Corrections for 9 years, and he is the captain of operations and a canine handler. Our fourth speaker is Mark Kondo Dimitraki, 1991, a 4-year student, a parent as well of Dino Asprogiannis, played football, wrestling, and lacrosse, did a lot of outdoor hiking here when he was at Tilton. Mark got his BS in mechanical engineering with a minor in mathematics from Northeastern University. He is the president of GC Engineering and is a licensed civil engineer in the states of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. So I hope that you all have some questions ready to go at the end. I'd like to begin with John Pandisio.
Thank you, Mr. Hollingsworth. It is pretty cool to be back here. It's been a while. I don't get back here enough. I got a reunion coming up this summer, so I'm looking forward to it. So what I'm hoping to talk to you about is marketing and advertising, and I'm a lifer in marketing and advertising. So I want to try and accomplish two things. I want to help explain what advertising and marketing job entails, and two, I want to see if I can help you get there. It was actually here my junior year at Tilton that led me on the path to advertising. And as Mr. Hollingsworth said, I was into sports here, I was meeting friends here, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do, not a clue. And then my English professor, Mr. Whitehead at the time, asked me to stay after class and talk about a paper I had written, homework assignment. And I was a little nervous, but I sat down after class and he started raving about the writing and the assignment, use of punctuation, and I kind of looked at him funny and I said, but Mr. Whitehead, I got a C+. And he said, yes, you did, John, but, and that's what the paper deserves, but it's your potential that I'm excited about. So we chatted about writing and what it could do and all this stuff. And it was kind of cool because going into that, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. And coming out of that meeting, it's like English writing could be my path. So I'll never forget Mr. Whitehead, I'll never forget that C+, but that's exactly what I did. I went to UMass and I majored in English writing. Where did that get me? My first job was as a copywriter for an ad agency in Providence, Rhode Island. And I was a copywriter. And as a copywriter, you create and write ads. So I did that for 6 months, and it was interesting, but I learned pretty quickly that it was more the business side of advertising that I was interested in. So I transferred into an account executive role for the agency. An account executive is the person that works with the client to determine via advertising the best means of generating sales and revenue. So I thought that was pretty cool. From there, I went to a much larger ad agency in Boston, and I was fortunate enough to work on the McDonald's account. McDonald's is a beast. They are a major player. I was a small fish in a big pond, but McDonald's spends $1 billion a year in advertising and promotions, and I got to work in the promotions department developing Happy Meal programs, which was pretty cool. So our department developed the toys that we manufactured and shipped off to the McDonald's. So that was very cool. Next was a transition period for me. So if anybody gets into marketing advertising, there's two ways of going. There's going the ad agency route, and then there's going the client side route. The first two jobs for me were for the ad agency. Then I got into the client side. So my next job was with Dunkin' Donuts as the corporate advertising manager. This was fantastic because I wasn't a coffee drinker, but I quickly became a coffee drinker. But this taught me about how to be strategic in advertising. And McDonald's has hot coffee, iced coffee, donuts, and bagels. And it was all about how to position those products. So, and that's a key word, positioning in advertising and marketing. So for example, with iced coffee, the positioning was it's the same great taste as hot coffee, our delicious hot coffee, except refreshingly served on ice. And that's critical because that teaches you how to position that product to a particular audience. And then that's what we did. I created TV ads, radio ads, outdoor, print ads, that sort of thing. From there is where I went to where I am now, head of marketing and advertising for an entertainment company. So these days, I'm traveling to stores, I'm working with the store managers about how to attract business to their individual stores. I oversee social media. I review all the digital advertisements. Very involved these days in search engine marketing. So search engine marketing is Google AdWords, Facebook advertising, YouTube advertising, and geofencing. Geofencing is pretty hot these days. So I guess with all that, I mean, that's kind of my career in a nutshell. The great thing about marketing and advertising, if you're thinking about it, is it's ever-changing, it's creative, you get to work with some really smart people, some very interesting people. And again, for me, I never expected Mr. Whitehead, C+ paper, to lead me to being, at an entertainment company in marketing, but that's exactly what I did. So that's what I've been up to. Now, I've got 5 suggestions for you if you're interested in marketing and advertising. And the first one, and I really learned this early on, is being a student of advertising. So critiquing advertising, reviewing advertising, talk to your friends about advertising, talk to your professors about advertising. And it's a great time. With the Super Bowl coming up, that is the best advertising out there. $5 million for a 30-second spot, so it has to be great advertising. The ad agencies and the companies doing it are under a lot of pressure to do it. But it's a great exercise for you guys to go through, is that as you watch the Super Bowl, pay attention to the ads and rank them yourself. And what's cool is, as you may know, the next day, usatoday.com posts the rankings. So you can kind of judge yourself on how you ranked them versus how they rank them. And consumer perception of advertising is incredibly important. It's probably the second biggest aspect of evaluating advertising, the first being sales and revenue, but consumer perception is huge. So it's a good exercise. The other thing I suggest you do is pick up a couple books this summer on advertising, and there's a lot of good ones out there. Some of the best ones that I've read are Whipple's Squeeze This, Truth and Lies in Advertising, Positioning, which gets into the strategy that I talked about, and then Ogilvy on Advertising. David Ogilvy is the Mount Rushmore of advertising people. So 4 really good books. They're pretty easy reads too. I suggest you do that. Utilize your summer job this year, this summer, to learn more about advertising. So it's tough to get an advertising job when you're a junior, senior in high school, but retail jobs, fast food jobs, any kind of jobs, you can learn about advertising. So I know for a fact at Dunkin' Donuts, if you work the cashier, every month that store manager gets a planogram. And that planogram is how the store internally markets itself. So that planogram will go over what products to feature, what price points to run, what signs go where, what posters go in what windows. So the planogram is an enormous way to learn about real-life advertising from a major company like Dunkin' Donuts. Get involved in advertising and marketing clubs your freshman year of college. There's a lot of them. There's the ad club, there's the marketing club, there's the PR club, there's the newspaper, there's graphic design, video editing, all kinds of clubs. My freshman, my son, who happens to be a junior at UMass Eisenberg in marketing, did this his freshman year. He got into the ad club and the marketing club, and it proved a tremendous education for him. He actually created ads for like-minded businesses. He started developing a portfolio. He met people. And what was really fortunate is part of the marketing club, he entered the competition to communicate not texting and driving, and it won a national award, and he was in Times Square in New York this summer with his creative plastered in Times Square. Huge experience for him. He met a lot of great people, and these are some of the things that I think you'll benefit from joining some of these courses. Yeah, this summer internship. I'm sure you guys are aware that It's incredibly important. Again, my son has done that, but I think in marketing and advertising, probably the best route is with an ad agency. So in Boston area, the big ones are Hill Holiday and Arnold. They have great internship programs. They will, they realize you're an intern. They realize that you've got a lot to learn, and they don't treat you like another worker. They're kind of investing in these people in hopes that they learn, they perform well, and then they come back after they graduate and they benefit from something like that. Internship at other companies around the area. Dell has a good program. I think TJX does, HubSpot, TripAdvisor, Gillette. Good companies to have an internship with. Lastly, and you're probably already doing this, start thinking about specific careers in advertising. So the ones I talked about where I started as a copywriter and an account executive, but there's graphic design, there's research, there is account supervisors, there's analytics. Think about specific careers. See if you can seek out and find these people, talk to them, what do they like, what don't they like, and you're all on track. So, good, just to wrap up, I really like advertising and marketing. I've done it my whole career. It's creative, you meet a lot of great people, it's ever changing. With all the analytics and all the social geofencing stuff, you really got to stay on top of it, but it's phenomenal. So I've loved it, and I think it could be a pretty good program, pretty good career for you guys as well. Thank you.
My name's Ellen, and I am going to be, my talk's going to be a little bit different from everybody here, because unlike these professionals, I did not take a straight path whatsoever. There was no jumping right from Tilton, right to a college that was for writing, right to, journalism school, or anything like that. Nope. Mine was much different. It kind of went here, there, and everywhere. But I just want everyone to know that it's okay. It's fine. I used, all the life experiences that I've gained to finally figure out really what my passion was. But along the way, I took in everything. And this is going to be my big message to you: is just, to take in whatever you can, and that it's realistic and fine to not know what you want to do right now as juniors. It's fine not to know what you want to do in college. It's fine not to know what exactly your career path is when you're in the first few years of your life too, or even maybe several. Just follow what I did, and my biggest thing was just that I followed the things that inspired me and the things that interested me. And, eventually I gained so many cumulative resources that I felt confident when the time came, and I found some letters in my attic from Civil War letters from my great-great-grandfather to his wife and children, and I was able to write a book based on that. And surprisingly, it has done really well, and I've been traveling all over the place in Ireland, and I'm about to get published in Ireland, and won an award for it. So it's just, that's, my biggest thing is, I would say, to, follow your dreams and just take in everything along the way. Travel. I did a lot of different things with education. At Tilton, you don't know if you guys know that I grew up here. I would love to show you my house, but it's been torn down. It is now, I think, High School Lane is now a shed, a maintenance shed.
Maintenance.
So, kind of tough to come back and not see the house that you grew up at, but that's okay. Anyway, but yeah, I grew up here my whole life. My father, I think we moved here when I was 3 months old. And so even growing up here, I thought, wow, when I was thinking back to this, being surrounded in an educational environment with so many different students that were my babysitters from all around the world. It was pretty amazing. Plus the teachers and the faculty here, such an eclectic group of professionals and different interests and all the things, the arts and the humanities and math and chemistry, things I didn't even like, I was surrounded by. So it was pretty cool environment anyway. But as a student, I just was open to everything. I didn't, I tried everything. I tried every sport. You mentioned, the things of sports. I did other sports in there too, but when softball ran out, that's when I started lacrosse. I think I did a year of tennis. So I just tried everything, and outdoor clubs, tried all those, even the ones I didn't like Sophomore Wilderness. Do they still have it? Yes, okay. But hey, it was an experience, and it sure led me to a lot of things. Summer jobs. I definitely think, obviously, they're important. I was a projectionist here at Tilton when scientists used to come here, so I met with these geniuses from around the world solving major problems and, from everywhere. So that was a really big help. Even when I was a gardener and a landscaper, when I was writing about the potato famine, my Irish ancestors, it really helped for me to know about, gardening and how things grew and how the blight could affect things. So you can't go wrong with anything that you go out there and try and the experiences that you make. Also at Tilton there was a travel opportunities, and I definitely did that. I would join the yearbook and also wrote for the Tiltonian. You still have that? Is it called the Tiltonian? Oh, okay, that was the school newspaper. So I always had a little writing, and even as a something that was always important was just reading, on the side, reading anything that was interesting to you. For me, it was Stephen King. I wouldn't know if it's it was just something that was interesting to me, and I don't think reading can ever hurt. And writing, loved keeping a journal, diary, wrote some scripts, just things like that I think always would have helped later on. In college, I majored in psychology, which didn't really lead exactly to this, but I did a lot of internships in the summer in Boston. There was this Grub Street writing program that I took, so I think it was closed there. Just never really come out, but definitely internships at a juvenile home, and everything can just lead to things later on that you're going to need to pull resources from. So after college, I moved to California and got my teaching certificate at Pepperdine, and had a lot of interesting experiences on the West Coast. And then after that, I moved back here just for a short time, and then my husband was transferred to London. So that was probably the biggest area of wealth of cultural experience, because I was able to travel throughout Europe and Ireland, and went back to the country that I was going to write about years later. And historical fiction, as you probably know, is really, you have to be accurate, and you get inside the minds of the characters. So if I hadn't been immersed in the culture of England and the UK and Ireland, I would have never been able to feel confident to be able to write the story through the eyes of people who lived in Ireland in the 19th century. But somehow I sort of pulled it off. Anyway, again, the travel opportunities, meeting interesting people have all come together to help me with find my passion and my inspiration. So I would just say at the end, came back here. I taught for years after, taught the Civil War in 5th grade, which was so fun because you can do like the North and versus the South, and get the kids all in blue and red, and show them that there was brother versus brother. And I think even those experiences, being a teacher, helped me again to be able to write later on. And I would say that finding some inspiration in your life, just go for it, because there's nothing out there that you can't attain, no dream that you can't attain. Because if I can write a book at my late 40s, then I think anything is possible. And so I just say to you guys, take your education. I've been a lifelong learner. I think that it's really important to observe everything and be an active observer in everything, because you never know what's going to come back and what you can do later on. And everything that you're in, just give 100%. And sometimes, if you're looking out for that career, but sometimes the career just might find you. So anyway, thanks a lot, and good luck to everybody.
I walk around a lot when I talk, so I'm going to drive you nuts. I'll look at the camera right there. My name is Joe Costanzo. I'm a graduate of 2003. I was a PG here at Tilton School. I also came back. I coached some teams with Coach H, some football back in 08, 07 and 08. I'm going to tell you a little bit about, as Ellen said, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Even when I left Tilton, when I got into college, I had no clue. So a little piece on how I got to Tilton, which I think is important. I was a horrible student, terrible. I had the worst grades. When I graduated from Bow High School, if I wasn't playing sports, it didn't really matter, right? So I left Bow High School, I came here. A guy named Tyler Fillion, one of my best friends, got me to come to Tilton. He said, come to Tilton, it's the best experience you're ever going to have. Coming to Tilton changed my whole aspect on education and just on life in general. When I got here, I didn't really still know what I wanted to do. Last game of the football season, I had a coach, his name was Henry Large. He came up to me and he said, Joe, you need to keep running. You just need to keep running because I was a running back. So when that happened, I rushed for 270 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the next thing I know, I found myself with potential to go to college and play football, right? So everybody wants to go to college and play sports, right? But something comes after that, I'm going to promise you. We're not all going to the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, or the MLB, okay? So I got into college. I played football, 4 years of varsity football in college. I didn't know what I wanted to study. So I went to a liberal arts school, Moravian College. I kind of just took a bunch of different classes. I was interested in history. Another thing that Tilton did is it improved me academically, I'll tell you that right now. So I didn't know really still what I wanted to do. My sophomore year, I was struggling a little bit, and I said, you know what, maybe college isn't for me. My grandfather had passed that year. One of his only wishes was that you finish college instead of going into the service. So I finished college. I got my BA in criminal justice sociology. So that major is a little different, right? Everybody says if you want to be in law enforcement, go to criminal justice, right? That's not so much. I'm going to tell you right now, when we talked earlier is about a lot of people have some interest in special agents and so forth, all right? There's a lot of things in law enforcement that don't just revolve around a criminal justice degree, okay? Psychology, linguistics, all that type of stuff will be beneficial if you want to get into the federal side of law enforcement and so forth. So when I graduated, my junior year, I had to take an internship, and I did a ride along with the police department, and I loved it. All right, it was the best thing. Everybody's seen SWAT movies and stuff. Everybody kicking in doors. All right, I was like, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. Right? It's not all like that. Let me just tell you. So I was like, I want to be in law enforcement. I got out of college and I joined the service. Okay? I joined the National Guard. I did a tour in Afghanistan in 2010, a year-long deployment. Prior to that, I actually got hired at the Merrimack County Department of Corrections. Once again, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. Who wants to work corrections, right? Everybody's seen Orange is the New Black and Oz and all those weird shows, right? That's not what corrections is. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I was like, it's a good paying job. It's got good benefits. They're going to let me go on deployment, come back, and still be employed. So I went on deployment. I will tell you a lot of the things that I learned on deployment have helped me succeed in my career. Once again, we talk about life experiences, different traveling, going different places. You take that all in. When I came back, I was there about a year, and I got promoted. And I had 2 years on the job, and I got promoted to corporal within a law enforcement agency. It was tough. There was a lot of adversity. 2 years later, I was promoted to sergeant. And 2 years ago, I was promoted to captain. During that time, I've worked with offenders. The biggest thing, I never thought I wanted to be in corrections. I thought I wanted to be a police officer since my junior year in college. But that's where I am today. All right? I'm the captain of operations at Merrimack. I'm also a canine handler. Okay? Last year, I started a canine program. My dog, Mac, I didn't bring him today. But he's a narcotics detection dog. I wear a lot of hats at what I'm doing. at the jail, business administration. I tell you, if you guys are interested in law enforcement, as I said earlier, there's different types of degrees that you can use throughout your career. I know I'm going to go back and get my master's in business coming up here very shortly, because that's what I see on my side of the where I am at in my career. I could just keep sitting up here and talking to you about corrections and so forth, but I guess the biggest thing I will say is, as we've all kind of said, is it's okay not to know what you want to do right now. All right? If any of you in this room are think you directly know what you want to do, it's going to probably change. All right? And if it doesn't, good for you. Good for you. But it will, okay? And sometimes you'll just find yourself in these life-changing moments as you grow up and as you get older, and it's going to point you in a path that you never even imagined. I never woke up one day and said, I want to be a correctional officer. All right? It just never happened. All right? But that's where I am now. So it's okay. When you're in college, it's okay too. Some of you go to liberal arts schools and test the water, see what you want to do. Take advantage of your internships. Okay? I can tell you that would be probably my biggest suggestion to you is take advantage of those types of opportunities when you're in college. Explore your horizons while you're there. Figure out what you actually truly want to do, and you might find yourself 5 years out of college just going a different route. So I thought I wanted to be a police officer, get in corrections, get my foot in the door, and here I am 9 years later as a captain in the Maritime County Department of Corrections. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's it.
Okay, so I had the great privilege of taking public speaking at Tilton with Coach Holly over here. So if nobody in the room goes into engineering, we have a convenient outlet to blame. Let's get that right off our chests here. So I'm going to talk to you about engineering and what engineering is and kind of my path through to where I am now, which pretty much everybody else has spoken about. And you know, there's going to be a lot of recurring themes, right? We've already noticed a lot of recurring themes in everybody's speech. So, I mean, the first question is, what is engineering? I mean, it's such a massive subject. It's really loosely defined as the design and construction of complex processes, but it's so much more than that, all right? Engineering is really about imagination. Engineering is really about self-imposed limits. What you can do and what you can imagine you can do that you can implement. And if you think about life, if you think about just where you are, and even in this room, everything was touched by an engineer. Right? Everything was touched by someone that had to imagine, how can we overcome this problem? And that's really what engineering is. And it doesn't matter what discipline you're involved in, right? Whether it's civil engineering or mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, chemical, biomechanical, you know, it's what can you think of? How far can you push yourself intellectually to understand, think about, and overcome a problem? And I got to tell you, my experience at Tilton was similar to a lot of others, where, you know, I had a moment where you know, when I was a junior, senior in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to be a teacher. And I had a calculus teacher my senior year, Richard Pates, and he pulled me aside one day, and he said, you know, he said, Mark, you're a smart kid, you're really good at math, but you're really lazy. And, you know, if you applied yourself and you really worked on and concentrated on what you were doing, the sky's the limit for you, right? So I did that, and I, you know, really tried to finish strong, and I got a C+. You know? But the lesson right, the lesson that I took with me, really through my entire life, was that, the sky's the limit, right? We are only limited by ourselves. And our profession is only limited by what we can imagine. And really, that's the crux of engineering. So how did I get into engineering? So I graduated from Tilton, really had no idea what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a teacher. I ended up going to school for mechanical engineering because my dad sat me down, he was an engineer, and he said, get a technical degree and a foundation in engineering, and then you can go and do whatever you want. And mechanical engineering, he said, it's really easy. It isn't. But what I'll say is that through studying mechanical engineering, at Northeastern specifically, I had a great opportunity to do cooperative education, where you work for a certain amount of time and go to school for a certain amount of time. And I got to do some really fun stuff. So I'm kind of dating myself, but the Dodge Viper back then was a concept car. And I worked at a company where our job was really to test the limits of the engine design and kind of improve and streamline and figure things out. And it was really great because we got to break a lot of stuff, we got to blow stuff up, we got to really push things to its limits and see, right? See, what can you do? What problems can you create that you can then overcome? So we got to do it with the Dodge Viper, we got to do it with the Boeing 777, which was a concept plane at the time. And our job was literally to make the wings fall off the plane. It was great. But, like anything, right? Our lives and our paths are circuitous. And as we experience one thing, right, we see other experiences that we want to grasp somewhere else. And so an opportunity came up for me in my life that I thought was really great, and it was an opportunity to start my own business. And so I jumped at the chance. So I graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering, and then I ended up actually working and starting a business in civil engineering. And what I had to do at that point was take all of the civil engineering curriculum that I didn't learn and really go out and learn it and apply it on my own. And, like everybody else up here, right? It taught us a lot of life lessons being here on how to handle a lot of changes, how to handle a lot of adversity, how to react to certain situations when you need to really apply yourselves. And that's one of the great things, obviously, about Tilton being here. But it's, another great thing about engineering is that it teaches you to logically problem solve and helps you understand how to attack a problem, look at what some of the obstacles are, and come up with solutions. Now, one of the great common themes that you've heard amongst every single speaker, right, is that none of us have ever stopped learning. And that's really one of the most important aspects of any profession that you go into. Because no matter what in life, you're never going to stop learning. Technology will change, processes will change, life will change. Your mind will change based on your experiences. And you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to want to learn. And then the other aspect, right, the other theme that everybody has spoken about is to do everything to the best of your ability, no matter what it is, right? Regardless of whether it's sweeping floors or designing a rocket ship to Mars or, time travel device. If you do whatever you choose to do to the best of your ability and take pride in it, there's no limit to what you do. And in any profession, right? I mean, nobody's going to say, I'm not going to sit here and say, engineering is so much better, and you guys got to do engineering, it's great. It's fantastic, it's a fantastic career, right? But I didn't know I was going to be here doing what I'm doing, just like he didn't know he was going to be in corrections, and she didn't know she was going to write a book, right? And we follow our path as students based on experience and learning. So, to sum it up, engineering is really great. You can do anything you want. right? But you really have to apply yourself, and you really have to kind of understand some of the concepts and history and really knowledge of engineering-based processes. So it's very science and technical based, but there's a lot of opportunity to integrate art with engineering as well, right? I mean, you drive into Boston, New York City, or places like that. Even, the city I live in Laconia, you marvel at some of the architecture and some of the beauty of some of the buildings and the structures, and even the streets and the roads. And when you think about, wow, this is really cool, right? Someone had to actually come up with that and design it and develop it, right? And then you think about, kind of mundane problems, right? Like you walk into a bathroom or a kitchen, and you turn on a faucet, and water magically comes out, right? That's fantastic. You don't think about where that water's coming from, how it got from where it started to that point in your faucet where it fills your glass, right? So think about it like this, all right? I'll leave you with a thought to ponder. The city of New York, the greater metropolitan area of New York City, has about 30 million people. That's a lot of people, right? And yet, every single person that walks into their kitchen or their bathroom, turns on the water, comes on. So, New York as a city is almost 400 years old. So they had to think 300 years ago, right, about what's going to happen today. And that's engineering. Thinking about today, what's going to happen in 100, 200, 300 years. Having that thought process, an idea, and imagination to be able to implement. So, never stop learning, and always do whatever you do to the best of your ability. And no matter what you do, we're going to be successful. Thank you.
We do have a little bit of time for a few questions, and then our panelists have agreed for individual questions. So if you didn't want to ask a question in a group, you can always come down and talk to anyone individually as well. Do we have any questions right off the bat, though, from the audience? Or Steve here? What was the name of your book?
Oh, yours faithfully, Florence Quirk, because that's how he signed all his letters. His family.
I have a question. You folks almost all talked about internships. How would we go about finding an internship in your particular area?
Really, the way my son did it was networking. He's at UMass, he's a marketing major, and his freshman year, he used LinkedIn like crazy, and he was talking to a friend at a party, and her cousin was at TripAdvisor. He reached out to her through LinkedIn at TripAdvisor, and he ended up at an internship. So. And there's a lot of ways, but certainly, your parents know people at companies, your friends know people, your brothers and sisters. I think it's all about networking.
Yeah, my son, the same thing at UConn. He did internships through, that's what he used to get all these different internships, and he's a senior now, and he just had an interview for a final job at Salesforce. So. But he did those every summer, and he used LinkedIn, and he was able to get a lot of different internships in all different areas of business, because he's just a business major.
Same thing. Obviously, social media plays a huge thing into internships. And also, I can tell you from the law enforcement community, right now, currently at our jail, we have internships for licensed mental health professions, clinicians, drug and alcohol, substance abuse clinicians. We have internships just in general that come in and and see what kind of corrections is about. Also, any police department usually opens their doors up to, especially people that are in college, to see what it's about. So I can tell you right now, if you ask your local police department, wherever you're from, the chief, they'll probably let you do right along. I'm pretty sure probably Tilton would do it too.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, do you have internships? Even if they don't have a posting for it or anything like that. If you see a place where you think is going to be cool and you want to be and work and learn, pick up the phone. You know, say, hey, you guys have internships? Worst they can say is no, right? But don't wait for somebody to hand you a reference for something. If you see somewhere you want to be, pick up the phone, go walk into the office and knock on the door and say, hi, I'd like to be an intern. Chances are, you know, that you're probably going to get an internship at that place, especially if you're that much of a go-getter that you want to go get it. So.
I like to say something about the internship lines is that even at this level as juniors in high school, doing a job shadow for one day is not a huge commitment from an organization or an employer. That going out and doing as many job shadows as you can in the different kind of careers. Like it would be interesting to go to a marketing, you know, if somebody's interested in engineering, but just say, hey, I want to do an engineering job shadow, but I'd also like to check out marketing. That might inspire me in a different way than I was thinking. And so I think it's important at this level. Internships are important, but it's also a huge commitment on an organization to take that on. But a job shadow for one day or an 8-hour period could have huge benefits with little commitment. Now, would you do that at corrections? Would you do a job shadow?
We would do a job shadow. Obviously, we wouldn't expose people to,
Of course.
obviously, the offender population. Well, directly, our minimum sentence offender population, we would. We do tours all the time for local high schools and show them, we have long corridor and you can see into the units. We also bring them into a unit. We have workers that are out all the time. Their minimum sentence custody inmates. So we do. We actually offer. We have PA interns that intern for our PAs. We have nursing interns and everything. So we would do job shadows, absolutely.
Well, and here at Tilton, there is a network of support for these types of experiences as you begin to partner more and more with our college counseling office, as well as a lot of the program design that is underway. As juniors now, you will see next year the next iteration of your capstone experience, and the signature part of that work in your capstone project will be field work. What we hear time and time again is that importance of research and student experience beyond the hill. So that will be connecting you not only with more alumni within that field of interest that you may have, or that passion around a subject area that you may have, but also take you out beyond the hill so that you can do more field work to give those real life experiences and start to build out that network of people as you ask many questions about your future. Our time is up for the morning officially, but please, if you do have individual questions for any of us, please feel free to come down, and thank you for your time and energy this morning.